Chapter 2. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. For thou hadst cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about, all thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land.
All right, so this is a big, huge controversy about whether or not Jonah really did die or not. Well, I never even heard of that until I went to Bible college, and it wasn't even like, it was a charismatic Bible college, and he was a pretty good teacher, actually, even though a lot of the stuff there at that church I wasn't that into, but they actually tell a lot of truth at that Bible college, and that's the first time I've ever heard of Jonah dying, and it wasn't until later on that I heard that Jonah died and went to hell. And some people say, well, it's just the hell that he was into. He wasn't really in hell. He just went to like a type of hell because it was so horrible being in the fish's belly. Okay, so, well, whatever. Let's take a look at the scripture. We just went through it. Let's take a look again. Okay. Jonah 2, so he's already inside the fish. Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. Okay, so he's in the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I. So how is he in the fish's belly and in the belly of hell? How could he hear his voice out of hell if he's in a fish? Is the fish in hell? No, but when you die, your body is in, your body is wherever it is. It's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Your body's just going to go back to the dirt where it was formed, but your soul doesn't die, your spirit doesn't die. So when you really die, you don't really die. You just get out of your dead body, just like you get out of your dead car when it stops working, so same thing. So that's how he's in two different places at the same time, I believe. And later on it shows you again kind of the same thing. For thou hadst cast me into the deep, and the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about, all thy billows and thy waves passed over me. So it's talking about the ocean there. That's the part he's in physically. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depths closed around me, and the weeds were wrapped around my head. So he's talking about all kinds of stuff that the fish must have swallowed along with his body. So he's in the weeds inside the fish. I went down to the bottom of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul fainted, the bars represents like a cage in hell. There's a lot of people dying and going to hell in the last 20 and even 30 years that you can listen to on the internet, and they're pretty sobering. Hence why I'm so adamant about sharing my faith about the Lord to so many people all the time, because I believe people need to know so they can fear God and follow Him. And let's see here. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and they vomited out Jonah upon dry land. Okay, so, there's another place I found on the internet here. You can check it out yourself. And it's a story in regards to a myth about someone ever surviving being eaten by a fish. Okay, here's the rumor part of it. An English commercial fisherman in the early part of the 20th century is thrown from his whaling ship and presumed lost at sea. Later, he's discovered alive in a whale that is harpooned by a whaling ship. He is taken back to England, where after receiving medical treatment, he lives out his life as his skin is blemished by the gastric juices of the whale. Well, that's the myth, or whatever you want to call it, and then it goes into the deeper story, and you can check it out online yourself. Just, man swallowed by a whale, because people believe that he really died and went to hell, and then God resurrected his soul out of hell. And so that's the whole point of this whole video, is to prove that he did die and did go to hell. And so this story right here is just showing you that, it really didn't happen. And the whole story is about some dude named James Bartley, who describes his stories. Yeah, I went to the middle of a fish, and I could feel myself swallowed into this slippery hot place, and then I was unconscious, and then I was being taken care of a couple days later by medics or whatever. Well, some Christian man decided to go and do research on this whole matter, and finds out that he, after tons and tons of research, looking for the ship that they had mentioned in here, and looking for the people on there, and the wife of the man who owned the ship and ran it, Mrs. John Killam, and she says, I was with my husband all the years he was on the Star of the East. Star of the East, that's the ship. There was never a man lost overboard while my husband was with her. The sailor has told Great Sea Yarn. So the story just goes on and on about how it really wasn't true, that no one could ever survive being eaten by a fish. I don't know that anybody has ever survived eating a fish. And you're saying, well, what's the point of the video? Why even go here? And I was like, well, it's important because people really do believe that he didn't die. And I'm like, well, he survived the belly of the whale just like Lazarus survived the belly of the grave or whatever, And so, yeah, he was back, but he was resurrected from the dead just like Lazarus was, and just like Jesus was, because the Bible uses that as an illustration later on. And that's kind of why it matters so much to me to say something like that, because when one thing is wrong, one calculation is wrong, all your calculations, they all connect. There's not just one piece of Scripture. The Scripture goes back to that when Jesus says, I'm going to go into the grave like Jonah. And so that's one of the doctrines that come from, did Jesus go to hell or did he not go to hell? Well, he went to get the keys of death and hell, so there's an indication that he really did go to hell. And some people believe he suffered there, some people just believe he grabbed the keys and left. I don't know what he did exactly, if he did suffer there. I would assume he did. If he was dying to take the sins of the world and suffer the wrath of God, that would indicate that, yeah, he did die and suffer that, and so the cup of the wrath of God, as he said, let this cup pass from me, Lord. Well, anyways, quickly here, it's just, it is a big issue because of the prophecy that Jesus did preach, and so it matters. These things matter to know whether he died or not. So, and it goes on and on and on. All these kind of issues, they don't just stop like that, but they are very important. And I hope that you enjoyed the video.